Hi everyone, welcome back. Happy Sunday. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. Weekend's over, unfortunately. So we have to get back in the swing of things here for Monday right now. The way things are shaping up, it looks like we're going to have a tough week for Bitcoin miners as well. We do have some new stories on that we'll talk about here in a second here. We'll take a look at what's happening with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now in the red for January. We're down a little bit, not too much, but we're still in the red here. I think that would make us the fourth straight month in a row that we've been in the red in Bitcoin. So we'll see how the miners are doing it after hours or pre-hours right now in trading. We'll take a look at some of the stories that we do have to talk about, and then we'll take a look at how the miners did against Bitcoin this past week. It wasn't that great, so we'll get into all that. Maybe that was just a start of things to come here for this week, maybe. But we'll get into it all. All right, as always, not financial advice for today only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out, and let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin right now as it is. So if we look at the chart here, we can see Bitcoin here on the daily right now. We were down quite a bit today. We were down 2.83%. We went all the way down to a low of 86,013 cents. We closed at 86,561. So it looks like we're still range bound, it seems like. We've been able, we're kind of at the bottom here, more or less at 85,000, roughly somewhere around there, between 85,000 and it looks like right now 95,000, 96,000, something like that. So I updated this triangle here wedge to see if we can maybe figure out when we're actually going to break above it. Based on this triangle wedge, it'd probably be like mid-February now that we might actually break out of this and possibly go up higher. Who knows? Time will tell on that one. But obviously not a great start to the week here for Bitcoin. It finished out pretty weak as it is. We're up a little bit here on the new day for it. We're up 1.02%. We're currently at $87,444 as it is. Miners obviously had a great day on Friday for the most part, but for the whole week, they didn't do that great except for actually two miners that we'll get to that at the end here. So if we look at the miners, where things are heading here in the after hours right now as it is, BitDeer right now is down 1.65%. Bitfarms here is down 3.28%. Kango is flat right now, no trading on that one. Cypher here is down 2.11%. Cleanspark is down 2.48%. CORZ Scientific is down 0.92%. Hive Digital is down 1.86%. Then we got Hut 8 here. Hut 8 is down 1.34%. IREN is down 3.09%. Mara is down 2.38%. Riot Platforms is down 1.27%. And TeraWolf here is down 2.48%. So we're starting in the red here for the week here. It's the last week of the month as well. We'll keep an eye on how things progress tomorrow. Maybe we end up in the green. That would be nice. I'm not saying it's going to happen here, but that would be nice. All right, some things to take a look at here. We'll get into some of this stuff here. But right now, Bitcoin's down a little bit for the month of January. We're down 0.23% as it is currently. That would be the fourth straight month in a row that we've had red here. We haven't had that since, looks like the bottom in 2018 maybe. Prior to that, let me see the other times that we had it. I'm not seeing here. I think somebody reported it. We'll talk about it here, but it's unusual for us to have that many months in a row where we're in the red here. Maybe we can squeak out a green on it by the end of the week here. Time will tell. Bitcoin ETF inflows, outflows here. We had some more outflows on Friday. We were down 103 million in total, with BlackRock reporting now of 101.6 million being out. Okay, if we look at the Fed rate tool here, when it comes to the Fed rate cuts here, we have this coming up this week as well. It's at 2.8%, so it doesn't bode well for rate cuts here this week. So markets maybe pricing that in. We have also a bunch of other things to talk about here. So this is from the Kobesi letter. Buckle for a huge week ahead. Markets react to 100% Canada tariff threat tonight. We're seeing obviously that in markets. We're seeing also gold being above 5,000. Silver being above $100 or like $116 or something like that right now as it is. So things are definitely a little wacky right now. Markets also reacts to 75% chance of a government shutdown tonight, right? That's kind of the pie markets and things like that. That's kind of where you're seeing that there's a high chance of the government shutting down here, which I think is happening later on this week, possibly if they can't get a bill passed for that. You also have the January consumer confidence data coming out on Tuesday, Fed interest rate decision and press conference on Wednesday. Then we got Microsoft, Meta, Tesla report earnings on Wednesday. Apple reports on Thursday. December PPI inflation data comes out on Friday. So prepare for significant volatility this week. Yeah, we're already starting that out really quick now. The good news here is, at least potentially, if this is true, Breaking Canada's Prime Minister Carney says he does not plan to sign a free trade agreement with China after President Trump threatened 100% tariffs. So that will be a good thing. If we can get the tariffs off the list here, at least that would be at least one good thing there. So maybe this will play out this way and it will be a good thing. This is also from Ash Crypto here. The US dollar index is about to crash really hard. And here's why. This is at least why he thinks that is the case. For the first time in the century, the Fed is planning to stop the Japanese yen from going down. This is what we call yen intervention. To do this, the Fed first needs to create new dollars and then use them to buy yen. This causes the yen to strengthen and the U.S. to dump as well. And the U.S. government benefits from a weaker USD. Future debt gets inflated away. Exports get a boost due to a cheaper dollar. The deficit goes down. And for those building assets, this invention can result in a huge rally, which would be good. Back in July 2024, Japan's Ministry of Finance intervened in the yen. Markets were volatile for a few weeks before forming a bottom. After that, BTC and alts rallied to new highs. This time, the entity is the Fed itself. The markets could stay volatile for some time, but as the dollar gets devalued, Bitcoin and alts could go parabolic, which would be really, really interesting to see that play out. So expect some volatility here in the next couple of weeks, I'm guessing, is the game plan here. So be prepared for that. You might get some good buying opportunities if that does play out that way. Okay, let's see. And then here's obviously on the U.S. government here. So the U.S. government could shut down again in 6 days. Polymarket now shows a 78% chance of a shutdown. The odds are rising because Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, the top Democrat in the Senate, said Democrats will vote no on the funding bill. Democrats are opposing parts of the bill related to DHS and ICE. While Republicans want to expand the funding and powers, both sides are stuck and time is running out. So maybe that gets pulled out of there. Who knows? Funding expires on January 30th. If Congress fails to pass the remaining bills, a shutdown begins. The last shutdown lasted 43 days and damaged the economy. No one wants a repeat, but without a deal on ICE, there are not enough votes to avoid it. Okay, so that's kind of, I'm not getting too deep in the weeds on the politics side of things here, but it's funny when you look at things going back to like when President Obama was in place, right? They were deporting people that were illegal here and illegal aliens that were deporting here that had records, whatnot. Democrats at that time were fine with it. Now we have a Republican president and they're not okay with it. All right, it's like you got to make up what you stand for. It's just you can't go against something that you've been in favor of in the past. It doesn't make any sense, and I think it just sets a wrong precedent there. But we'll see how this plays out, whether or not they can get something figured out by the end of the week here, it looks like. We don't have much time left. But a government shutdown obviously would not be great for us. We might obviously have a pullback at that point as well. So if you're looking to buy some more, hold off maybe a little bit. Wait until these things play out, and then we'll get some lower pricing on a lot of these things, I believe. All right, next here is also, let's see here. This is something different, maybe some good news here. So in case you didn't realize what's coming, the chief investment officer of BlackRock is now expected to be the next Fed chair. And Trump says cutting rates is a requirement for the next Fed chair and is actively calling for 1% interest rates. If this plays out, 2026 is going to be a wild year. It would be a wild year, but we need everything else. We need the government not to shut down, right? We need to have the tariffs off the table as far as, fears for Canada. I also saw a story today, not sure how much truth there is to it, but that China was under an internal coup possibly from its own generals there, which is just wild. And a story that China generals were also providing nuclear information to the United States government. So there's definitely some tension happening there right now as it is. We need all that to go away, I think, as well, because there's just a lot of unknowns with it right now as it is. And I think that was the New York Times that was reporting that. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm going off my memory here. All right, so there's not good news there. I'm trying to think of anything else that I saw that was kind of concerning. I think that was it. This is from Joe Burnett here. Bitcoin is currently on track for 4 down months in a row. The last time this happened was bottom of the 2018 bear market, bottom of the 2014 bear market, and bottom of the 2011 bear market. So if this plays out, we might be bottoming out here relatively soon, hopefully. Sooner than later, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. Definitely love to see a nice rally here happening for us. But we still have a long ways to go for the year. We could be down even, I think, was it Tom Lee that stated that? We could go down on the markets like 10, 15, 20% and then have still reach new all-time highs by the end of the year. And we might be in right now that kind of phase where we're going to be going down, and then by the end of the year, we'll still be up. So again, prepare for that if that's going to be happening here. Last but not least here, Michael Saylor hints at buying more Bitcoin here. I wonder if he's going to do it through regular channels instead of doing it through the, the OTC, over-the-counter desks. If he does go in at it with general trading, right, not the OTCs, that might actually pump up Bitcoin here a little bit. We'll see what he does. We'll find out tomorrow if he bought some more or not, but that's at least some good news there. Okay, so like I said, not a great, it's going to be a rough week for us here in Bitcoin and the miners as well, I think, with everything that's going on here right now. It's just like everything's piling up on us all at once, which is not what we wanted to see. Definitely not something I wanted to see. I'm sure you guys didn't either, but this is kind of what we got here. Long term, as you guys know, I'm still bullish. Short term, like I've said before, we're going to have volatility, and hopefully it goes away here. All right, on this one here, I should update this to the 25th here. Okay, updated today. As always, at the end of the week on Sundays, we take a look at how the miners have performed from their 52-week lows and how far away they are from their 52-week highs. And this is kind of what we have here right now. IREN's still doing the best. It's up 1,006% from it when it bottomed out, which I think was in April of last year. Cypher, same thing, is up 844% from that time frame. TeraWolf up 585%. Hut 8 is even up 480%. Bitfarms 307%. Core 202%. Riot 179, almost 180%. Hive up 155. Cleanspark 112. BitTR also 112. Bitcoin's only up 28%. Kango's up 23%. Marathon up 17%. Strategy's up 8.9%. So those guys have not done great. This from the 52-week lows, I guess. And we can see that quite a few of these guys are still quite a ways away from their 52-week highs. Strategy's 64% away. Marathon's away 55%. Hive is even 58%. Bitfarms is up 58% as well. Some of the other ones that are kind of closer are Hut 8, TeraWolf, even Bitcoin at that point. IREN as well, right? They're not that far away from their 52-week highs. So we'll keep an eye and see how they do going forward here. Last week, we only had two that did actually be positive. Cleanspark up 3%. TeraWolf was up 2%. Bitcoin was basically flat. I track it Friday to Friday as always. Core was down just 1%. We had IREN, Kango, and Hut 8 being down 2% roughly. Then we had Strategy being down 6%, Cypher, Bitfarms, Hive being down 7%, Marathon and BitTBT being down 8%, and Riot being down 10%. So it wasn't a good week for us last week either, at least for some of these guys here. 4-week time frame looks a little bit different here. Bitcoin was up 6% from 4 weeks ago. Ones that have not have performed as well as Bitcoin are Kango being down 2%, Strategy up only 4%, Bitfarms being up 5% there. Marathon actually at least even with Bitcoin there being up 6%. And we've seen IREN do the best here, being up 33%, followed by BitTBT up 26%, then Riot 22%, then Cleanspark up 19%, and then 18% for Core there. On the 8 weeks time frame, things change again. Let's see, Bitcoin's up 7% here. We have Cleanspark, TeraWolf, Strategy, Cypher, Bitfarms, and Marathon underperforming there. With even Hive here underperforming. We've only have right now Core, IREN, Kango, Hut 8, BitTBT, and Riot outperforming Bitcoin on the 8-week time frame. And the 12-week time frame, things look really weird here. Bitcoin's down 8%, so pretty much everybody, for the most part, I shouldn't say everybody. We had Core, TeraWolf, and Hut outperforming along with Riot there, looks like. And then everybody else here has underperformed Bitcoin by a certain amount on it. So wild 12 weeks, depending on which time frame you look at it. Was the end of the year. We kind of saw that happening because of profit taking, right? Putting gains on their books. We talked about that as well. For the institutions, mom and pop shops and all that, the hedge funds, all that, we knew we were going to possibly be going down into the end of the year. And right now, the 4 weeks, if we look at the 4 weeks, we're doing okay. Start of January to where we are right now, we're still doing pretty good. So it's not as bad as we might like to think, or we fear it is. But obviously these gains can be wiped out pretty quickly here if the economy, well, or maybe the markets panic because of what's everything going on around here in the United States and also outside as well. But we'll keep an eye on it. But that's all I got for you guys. I'll be happy if we squeak out a green week here on Bitcoin and miners here as well, based on everything that's happening here for this week. I think that would be a great sign for us, but we'll see. You can see all the data here on all these things here. We can see, we've had pretty good start to January, right? We had the first week, second week, third week. We're pretty much all in the green here with these guys. And this past week was a little bit more rough as it is right now. You can see a lot more red here. right, that's it. Let's get into Q&A here. We'll call it a day at that point. So not much going on here on this stuff. We will start getting, let's see, in about 2 weeks, we're going to start getting the quarterly results for these guys, or for some of these guys, and then the end of year results for some of them as well. So we'll obviously talk about that. We got the last week here of the month, and then after that we start getting updates for the production here in January. One thing to note here, this past week, obviously with this winter storm and everything else, the freezing temperatures, we're hearing obviously stories from quite a few of the miners. We're hearing it from Cleanspark. We're hearing it from others as well that are in that area. I think Riot, BitDeer as well, that they've obviously been curtailing to help the grid out there. I think there's like 1 million people without electricity right now is the latest I heard on it. So hopefully those people can get their electricity up and running quickly here, but the ice storm is definitely doing a lot of damage there. I believe especially in Kentucky area. So thoughts and prayers are with those people. Obviously it's not great when it's cold and you have no electricity. So hopefully they have ways to stay warm there. All right, that's it. Let's get into Q&A here. See what you guys have to say, and we'll call it a day. All right, as always, I'm going to scroll up and work my way down, and then we'll get through everything as well. All right, let's see here. Raz has a question. Your Mara went down due to Bitcoin price. What is your price action of Mara in the future, and when you expect that Cleanspark will get an HPCI deal? Mara, I've talked about Mara. Well, we talked about it last week quite a bit. Even on Friday's show, I think we talked about it quite a bit. Mara, I mean, they're a huge company, right? They have the biggest HODL position and everything else. HODL's not being valued what it used to be. They're not getting any kind of premium for it. So I also think they need to do some changes maybe in the upper management there, the C-suite. They also need to, I think, focus a little bit more on what they're doing. If they do those things, then they also use some of their HODL to maybe build out the AI data centers or something like that. That could be a huge, quick turnaround for them in price action. Until they do some of those things, the stock is going to languish here unless, you know, they come out with great news that they got an AI deal for somebody at one of their facilities or something like that, which I don't expect, but could be a surprise on it. Okay. As far as, let's see here. As far as Cleanspark getting an HPCI deal, I think they will get an HPCI deal by the end of the year, considering that they started pivoting into that, what was it, September, October timeframe, right around the time when they let go of their prior CEO. Matt Schultz took over as the CEO. They definitely quickly transitioned, not complete transition, but got into AI as well for data centers. So I would imagine sometime by the end of this year, they should get a deal. Maybe they get it a little bit quicker, but I'm expecting at least one by the end of the year. All right, Raz here again. Riot went up, but coming down after news. What do you think Riot will get a major deal for Corsicana? I would imagine if they get a deal, it's going to be sometime this year. We know that power is one of those limiting factors that's out there right now to build out quickly. Riot's got it. IREN's got it. Cypher's got it. Obviously, the other ones have it as well. So it's just a matter of how the deals are structured. The third party, when they do their due diligence on the sites and things like that, right, which one does wins out. But I would think that we get a deal sometime this year. All right. Escape. What is your Bitfarms Q1 2026 price target? Will it fly post earnings? I don't think it will fly post earnings unless they have some really, really good news in there. Maybe not even news, but just maybe I should use, like, I wouldn't say hopium either, but maybe some good insight into their progress into building out the Washington site and maybe their two or three sites in Pennsylvania as well. Right, if there's some good comments on that or some interest from possible customers, I think the stock will do pretty good here. As far as results, obviously Bitcoin mining has come down in revenues because the Bitcoin price coming back down, and also the network hash rate going up during the fourth quarter. So I imagine those will be coming down here. But yeah, it's just going to be what kind of story do they tell us as far as what are their path going forward on that one. So as far as where do I think it will end up, I mean, it's at $2 something right now, right? I would say maybe if things go well, we could see them, $3 to $4 range, somewhere around there. All right. Roger says this triangle pattern is a breakdown, aka bear flag. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't go below the 85,000 or 80,000. If we maintain above 80,000, we'll be okay, right? Once we get below 80, that's when I start getting really concerned. All right. Scud says one of these miners is going to be bought. Scott says, glad I trimmed last week. Which one do you think is going to get bought? And bought out by, you're thinking like a hyperscaler, somebody that's got a lot of cash? They would have to definitely pay a sizable premium, I think, for the site in order for it to go through and be approved by the board and also the shareholders there, because a lot of the shareholders believe that the megawatts that they do have, the ones that have a lot of deals, will get obviously higher rated over time as those megawatts are being used up for AI and other things. All right. Okay. Neville says the only way the price skyrockets is if we hear the words NTP or that PJM has given approval to their Panther Creek site. Those would be good catalysts to have for Bitfarms. You're talking about Bitfarms there. All right. Victor, if no rate cut, will the markets go down heavy? I don't think they'll go down heavy. I mean, I think it's being kind of priced in right now because based on the Fed tool, the Fed watch tool for rate cuts, I mean, you can kind of see that it might not happen. If it's a surprise that we do get rate cuts, I think the markets will, do pretty nice here. But I think right now they're going to do what they're going to do. Largely, will depend on, I think, on a lot of the big guys reporting here, which is obviously Tesla reporting, I think, Microsoft, somebody else is reporting as well this week. That will be that will drive sentiment, I think, in the markets. All right. Neville says, I think we hear that Newsfo, their site is Washington, as they are still confident they can deliver the DC by end of year, data center by end of year. Okay. Pete, question, just a technical request. I spend many hours daily on YouTube. Yours is one of the only few channels I have to always bump up 30% perhaps. Others can chime in to confirm. We're talking about volume there. I'm a soft-spoken person. Naturally, I'm not very boisterous, I guess you could say. So that's possibly why I can't help that. I got my volume set right now at like 95% it is on my Rode controller thingy. So that's about as high as I can go before maybe getting a little too high on things, and you guys might hear some distortion in my voice or something like that. But I greatly appreciate you coming in here, though. I wish I could do something more for it. I wish I had a louder voice. No, I would like Bitfarms to pursue cloud for their site in Washington. It makes so much sense. It's a relatively small site with the cheapest power and can serve as a project for doing it on a large. I agree with you there. I'd love to see them do that. All right, that would be, I think, a better way to go than trying to get a customer there. And there was a news story that came out. I don't know if I covered it. I think I might have taken it out, but there was a news story that they're looking for a purchasing manager. Not sure which site or whether it's just general, but maybe that's that's something that's going to be on their plate, is to possibly procure GPUs to, build out their own compute. Maybe, I don't know. Time will tell. All right. Scott says, there haven't been this many negative months going back to the late 1819s. Not sure what you mean, like 2018, 2019 timeframe. Is that what you're talking about there? Nemo says, a cloud contract with AWS will send a strong signal that they may intend to offer cloud services for government contracts. Yeah, would agree with you there. Daniel, quantum computers, specifically with enough stable qubits, can break the cryptographic algorithms that secure Bitcoin wallets. That is true, but we're still a ways away from that. A quantum computer can use a certain algorithm to mine Bitcoin and more efficiently. This would disrupt mine economics. They can also make Bitcoin quantum proof by obviously improving the not the algorithm, but the security layer of it. They're working on that as well. There's ways to fix it. When will Bitcoin act like gold? When gold starts dumping and we get a rotation of money coming from gold to Bitcoin possibly. I don't know when that's going to happen, but right now, Bitcoin is definitely doing, gold is definitely doing much better than past year. Ron says, hi Seb, what's your 2 to 3 month forecast and what are some macro things to look out for both Bitcoin and data centers? As far as my forecast for the next 2 to 3 months, it's hard to say. Right now, we got a lot of stuff that we got to deal with. Obviously, the government shutdown possibility, the rate cuts happening here, the stuff with China happening, right? All this stuff here. So, I mean, GDP has been good for Q4 of last year. What did it come in at? 4.7%. So that was looking pretty good. As far as any tailwinds or anything like that, regulation on this stuff, as far as data centers are concerned, when it comes to using natural gas for turbines and things like that, which we've seen, obviously, the EPA kind of cracked down on XAI a little bit for them. that might be interesting to watch there. Was it not DRAM? Is it not DRAM? It's not DRAM. It's just regular RAM, I believe, is in short supply. We're seeing companies increasing their pricing on computers by like 30% because of the pricing on I think it's DRAM. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, I know it's something to do with RAM or memory. So that might be something to keep an eye on, that one. That might slow things down when it comes to buying, because if you got to pay 30% more on servers or something like that, or even on, I mean, that might increase the cost on the Vera Rubin chips that are going to be coming out as well, those systems. So that might have an impact on it. So we got to keep an eye on that. I'm trying to think what else right now off the top of my cuff. I mean, there's probably more that I'm missing, but I think those are the big things that I would kind of keep an eye on. All right. Mortem, question. Are we likely to learn that IREN is reducing exahash? IREN might do better if it can go away from Bitcoin. I mean, yeah, it can do better if it gets more of their megawatts used up for compute, for HPC AI, right? If they can do that, then yeah. Will we learn that they reduced it? Well, they were well, we know they were reducing it probably in Canada for the data centers that they were doing out there. So I think that is a possibility. How much of a reduction will it be? I'm guessing maybe somewhere between 3 and 5 exahash, somewhere around there. I'm guessing something like that. Maybe even higher than that. But that's kind of what I'm guessing would be that downtrend on that one. But they're still going to be generating possibly more from their HPC AI compute. And big thing I'm looking to see is how many their own GPUs did they install for their own compute. That's the big thing I'm going to be looking at when they report. February 5th, I think it is. Victor, question. Cash in hand would be good for the 28th in case the market dips. But on the other hand, Trump wants to keep it green, which may have a minimum impact. What are your thoughts? Well, they got a little bit more time. I mean, Trump wants to keep it green because they got the midterms coming up this year. So he wants a nice booming economy going into the midterms. So that way people, see pricing going down on like fuel, energy, food even. If he can do those things and have a booming economy going forward, lower people's, talking about lowering credit cards, interest rates for a year down to 10% for a lot of people. So people will have money. That should support the economy as well. They're trying to do all these right things. So it's hard to tell. But ideally, realistically, you probably should have some cash on hand just as a backup always in case things do dip. You can buy at that point. If they don't, at least you got some spare change around if things go worse in another way, right? So you always have a little bit, if you lose your job or something like that, you always want to have a little bit of backup cash. All right, B82, let's see. Will the current miners continue to grow hash rate? Seems like most are moving to HPC AI. Curious who survives after next halving. We've heard that Cleanspark is going to be going to like 60 exahash, I think. This quarter is what they're planning. Somewhere around there, 57 to like 60 exahash. But so they're still growing a little bit. Nonetheless, they're at 50 exahash right now. BitDeer is going to be probably, I'm guessing this year, north of maybe 80 exahash, maybe between 80 and 100 exahash by the end of the year, the way that they keep generating their own ASIC machines and plugging them in. So I could see that happening there. Riot's still growing a little bit as well. They have a couple more exahash to install that they stated that they were going to be doing. Hive also has stated that they're trying to get to, I think, 30 or 35 exahash by the end of this year, potentially. So there's at least those guys that are still growing. I'm trying to think of anybody else that's growing that we know of. I think that's it right now. As far as what's going to happen after the next halving event, it'll greatly depend on where Bitcoin price is at. And then how many of these megawatts that these guys do have, do they get changed over into HPC AI instead of Bitcoin mining? So that'll be really interesting to watch how that plays out, right? If some of the companies can't or don't get any deals for HPC AI in the next, I guess it would be 2 years since we have another halving event, they may be looking to possibly, increase their hash rate at that point, because if you can't get any deals for AI for the sites, you might as well, buy some more of the newer generation machines at that point and install them. So I think the next year is going to be interesting to watch, because we're going to be then a year away from the halving event. And if some of these miners can't get deals for whatever reason, we'll see which way they go at that point. All right. Robbie says, can we get 4 red months straight on Bitcoin? It looks like, I mean, right now we're down a little bit here on Bitcoin, and it has happened before. So it's not out of the question. Martin, if we continue to have the Trump effect, never-ending chaos, how well can Bitcoin perform? The crypto president is more like the crypto dud. President just bad for the space. I mean, Bitcoin obviously is having a challenging, I would say, year, right? I mean, we got to a new all-time high, 126, but it finished out basically, last year was basically, I think, in the red from where it started out to where it ended up. So that was obviously not a great year. Gold, silver, everything else is having a great year. Markets are having a great time also, right? They're getting to new all-time highs. So it's just like Bitcoin and the old coins have suffered. Miners have done actually really well because they've been transitioning over to AI as well. So those have done good. It's just Bitcoin, for whatever reason, has been lagging and languishing in purgatory right now until we figure out which way it wants to go. I think part of it is the large amount of ETFs that we have now, the easier on-ramps, the also the futures on it as well. There's just a lot more ways institutions and investors can hedge it and do all that stuff. So that's kind of keeping it down as well. But in turn, it could result in a extended cycle in Bitcoin, maybe. Right? Time will tell on that one. All right, Ryan, do you believe the recent sugar and silver and gold prices represents a shift away from fiat currencies? Where do you think this trend will lead, especially for Bitcoin? Okay, I think that is mainly due to some of the conflicts between the United States and some of the other countries out there, right? They don't want to use the dollar, so they're buying up gold. They might be even trading in gold. They might be trading in other cryptocurrencies as well. They might be trading in Tether or whatnot, right? So I think that has something to do with it currently. There's other dynamics involved in that as well, but I think that's the major one. That's kind of a catalyst for that reason, right? We're seeing obviously China buying up a bunch, India, Russia as well. So they're not happy with the US dollar. So that's why they're getting into gold here, gold and silver, obviously. As far as where do I think the trend will lead, especially for Bitcoin, I think every time we've seen gold kind of rally, eventually that rally turns over back into Bitcoin in time, right? Maybe if we get the Clarity Act passed for Bitcoin, maybe that's going to open up the floodgates for the banks to allow it and all that stuff here. So that maybe that's going to be the catalyst that pushes it back up. But we'll have to just kind of watch it and see how it plays out. I think in time Bitcoin will rally, just when. We don't know when. All right. BD2 says, do you think or know if this cold weather took any miners down? I don't know if they took them down completely for operations. We know that some of the miners have been curtailing because of that. We've also seen a reduction in the network hash rate. And let's see if we can actually pull this up here. I think I have this up here someplace. I think I do. Yep, let's see here. Okay, this is on the 1-day chart. Let's do the 1-day chart. Okay, here we go. So here's a chart of network hash rate. We went down to a low of, what was that, 690 exahash, where we were just a couple of days ago. We were at, what was it, 1.1, so 1,163 exahash, 1.163 zettahash at that point. So we had a huge drop here. So that's related to the winter storm that we're having, obviously down south, a little bit southeast region of the United States, and that's a result of that. So yes. Network hash rate has been quite a bit, it looks like, right now on it. If we look at the 7-day average, we're definitely seeing a drop here on that one as well. We'll see where it actually comes in at. But it is dropping here. But we've seen a huge drop here just, the last couple of days. Okay, let's go back here. All right, Michael, which company that starts with the MI that Sebastian asked if we any of us bought? Was that Mawson? MIGI? Was that the one that we were talking about last week that we discussed as well? All right, somebody's thoughts on WGMI, investors investable or prefer individual stocks, good it long-term through bear market? I mean, so caveat, I own WGMI in my retirement account. I got into it at the bottom, basically, pretty close to the bottom, back in January of 2023, which the miners bottomed out in December of 2022. I got in, pretty much plowed everything that I had in my retirement account at that point into that one. And what was the other one? The other one was, oh gosh, I'm drawing BitQ. I think is the other one that I got into it. Let me see here. Which ones are they? BitQ, yeah. BitQ was the other one that I got into as well. A little bit less. High percentage of it actually went to WGMI. That has done phenomenally well for me. From where I started out, it's up like 6-7%. They're more now into like IREN stock, right? The companies are actually getting into HPCI as well. So if you believe that HPCI is going to continue to rally here in the next year or so, I think that one's a great one to get into. It has done actually really well here in the past year as well. So that's the one I would probably recommend if you're going to get into this kind of thing. I think it's fantastically run, and it's done really, really well. Now, past performance doesn't mean you're going to have future results as well. But given that if you have, IREN getting a deal, Cypher getting a deal, Riot getting a deal, all these guys here, that thing is going to do really well, and you're getting kind of like a basket of things at that point as well, instead of trying to pick the winners individually. So I think it's a good one. Not financial advice, but I think it's a good one. All right, let's see here. Rob says, hi, Seb. Let's see here. Mark, have you heard of DGXX? Can you look at it over, given your thoughts? DigiPower, yeah, they used to be called Digihost at one point, Canadian miner. They are partnering with a small modular nuclear reactor company, I believe. Drawing a blank on the company there. They were small in hash rate, from what I recall. I think they were under 2 exahash at one point. I'm not sure if they're above that right now. Last time I took a really deep dive on them was probably last year, maybe even a year and a half ago. At that point, because at that point was when I kind of drew the line, we were seeing a bunch of the miners growing to 10 exahash and above, and we saw some of these smaller miners staying below even 5 exahash. We had Digihost at that point, which is now DigiPower, I believe. We had DMG as well in there, Sphere 3D, Mawson, Argo as well, right? So those guys that kind of took off my radar, more or less. But we still kept an eye on them just to see how they're doing. I'm not sure what's going on with them recently, but the only thing I know is that they've partnered with somebody and they're trying to get into the AI space as well. So that's as much as I know about it right now. Okay, John says, Rick Ryder is the CIO of the bond trading 2.7 trillion. Listen to him a few times on CNBC as he is a huge supporter of Bitcoin. His lead is 40% over Warsh. Okay. So that's good. So, you got more and more people being supportive of Bitcoin. Rob says, I'm hearing from people who have physical gold and silver now saying who is going to buy it from them now that they want to sell it. Well, China, Russia will probably buy it. But even if you go into, gold store, silver store, right? Those guys will typically buy it for a little bit less because they got to make money on it, but they will buy it. Daniel, the fee for stock ETFs known as the expense ratios are good to understand. I wonder how much WGMI. I'm not sure. I think, I don't want to give you guys wrong information on that one, but I know it's not that bad, or at least to me, it's not that bad. But I got into it much lower. Victor, is Cypher still working on a new deal? Yes, they are trying to get, I believe, 2 deals a year is what they're targeting, I think. So yes, they're still working on deals. John, since the beginning of the Bitcoin, each time gold's advance stopped, Bitcoin surged. Check the chart for gold. Yeah, I saw the same thing. So that's why I'm saying eventually there will be a time where Bitcoin or gold peaks, and then you're going to have people probably selling it at a certain point because they made nice gains on it, and they'll possibly rotate into Bitcoin because Bitcoin's obviously been held down. All right. Michael says, you said something about the company, I think on Wednesday, that trade under 4 letters that I think starts with MI. Mawson, I think, MIGI. Let's see, silver has many industrial demands. Well, yeah, it's used in electronics, things like that. It's definitely, well, so is gold too. They both have industrial demands. Michael, you ask if any of us buy that certain stock that they've no, just asked to see if you guys were still in it, because I've said, what was it, a year and a half ago, I'd be surprised if they last another 2 years or something like that. I think I said maybe a year to 2 years, just the way they were running the company at that point. So that's why I was asking, and looked like 20-some% of you guys still did, based on at least the poll there. So I want the best for you guys. I want that company to do well, and that other company that's trying to make some changes in there, I think if they can do those changes, I think it'll be good for not only the company but also for the shareholders there. So I hope they do good. All right. Rob says this drop in BTC has to do with the rotation into silver and gold. That could be also it, but you also have, countries buying it like crazy. Just to put a finger up to the United States, I think. Michael, I still didn't understand you, and can you type the letters in the chat box? Mawson, MIGI. That's the ticker symbol there for that one. All right. Rob says this drop in BTC has talk about that one. Okay, that's stuff repeating. All right. I think I've caught up to all your guys' questions here. So we're going on 45 minutes or so, roughly. We'll call it a day. I mean, we'll see where things go later on this week, right? It's not going to be an easy week. It's going to be maybe a little painful. We'll see where we end up later on, whether or not we're green for the month of January or not, and how do the miners do as well. And yeah, volatility is the name of the game, right? Nothing goes up forever in a straight line up. We're going to have ups and downs. We had a nice start to the month of January. We're now having maybe a little pullback on that as a result of it. Let's see. Michael says the company trade around $4. My hearing is bad, and MIGI is the letters. Yes. So let me pull this up on the chart here for you. We do track them. We do keep an eye on them. Where is it? Small miners. There it is. MIGI. So here is that ticker symbol there. It is right now. It had a nice little run here the last couple of days. As you can see here on the chart, it's like $5 right now as it is. MIGI is the ticker symbol there. It was up 12% on the news that somebody's trying to change the management there and the board as well. So, right, it'll be good if they can do that. Company does have some assets, not a lot. They have about 150, 160 megawatts. Of available power. That they could possibly turn that into AI compute because they're in pretty nice areas as well. And that would definitely value them much, much higher here because I think they're valued right now as it is as of Friday. And so if we look at this one, see if we can find financials. Maybe it's at, okay, market capitalization, 5.72 million. Right, pretty small market capitalization. So if they can turn this thing around, this thing should be worth probably more than where it's at right now. No, we'll see. Time will tell. But definitely need some change there at that one. Okay. Let's go back here. Let's see what else we got here. Michael says, since I have gotten only that my hearing getting worse every year, gotten older, can't type either. Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing, unfortunately. As you get older, my eyesight is starting to get a little worse. Still can see pretty good, but it's nowhere near where it was just 10 years ago. Starting to have to squint to read some of those prescription labels, which I never had to do before. Hearing is still actually pretty good for me. Knock on wood. That holds on. But yeah, that's one of those things. You get older, things start to go away a little bit. Maybe in time with AI and everything else, we can have maybe some of those things get improved, where they're they work like their younger counterparts, I guess. Michael says I must wear glasses to sign my name. Okay. Yeah, I'm not there that far yet. All right, we'll call it a day because I'm just rambling on here. We'll call it a day. We'll see where we end up later on this week. We'll cover whatever happens tomorrow, and we'll talk about it as always. All right. I wish you guys a wonderful week ahead. Hopefully we still end up in the green here, but be ready for some volatility as well. We'll see where the rate cuts come in, everything else. And Michael asks, do I like Wolf? They've done a great job here getting into the AI space. I will give them that. There's some things that I didn't like about the management. Not all of them, but some of the management I didn't really favor there because of some of the comments that they made in the past. Those things obviously have changed here. So I do think that they're doing a much better job, and they've obviously been led in the right direction here by some folks, which is great. So I'll leave it at that. Okay. All right. Wishing you all a great week. Love you all. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then.